Good evening and welcome to your 2057 Perfect League World Series coverage. I am your host, DRC. And I have the great honor and privilege tonight of bringing you both the play-by-play and analysis as we crown this week's Perfect League champion. Hope you guys are all doing well tonight as we have quite the matchup on our hands. We have got the Cartier Cutthroats going up against the Manchego Cheese of DLL lore. And we're going to break down the matchup for you. We're going to tell you what these teams look like. We're going to tell you how they've been playing, what their season looked like, what types of parks they have. But before we do that, we're just going to talk about what this show is about. This show is about celebrating the week that was. This is the capper on the week. Most diamond leagues or many diamond leagues are already decided at this point. I know that Chuck won DLL. Congrats to Chuck. But we're here to celebrate all of the champions of the week of all of the levels. And we're here to recognize those that within Perfect League were caught by the relegation Puma this week. And we'll be heading down to Diamond after very noteworthy and respectable runs here in Puma, or here in Perfect League. So before we jump, and maybe let's do this after we have an opportunity to look at the teams, but I'm definitely going to want to hear from you guys as to who you think's going to win and in how many games. So let's get to the team so you guys can make an informed decision. Our first sim, which will be in 5 minutes, is an off day. So we're about 20 minutes right now from our first game sim being in and some play-by-play. So we'll be able to really understand who these teams are first. Let's start with the Manchego Cheese. And cheesy they are. So the first thing that I look at when breaking down a team is how successful were they? How successful were they in scoring runs? And how successful were they in preventing the other team from scoring runs? And so with Manchego, we see they were 5th in the league, 5th in the conference in run scoring. So in that upper tier of teams, and they were 10th in runs allowed. So not necessarily the greatest team in preventing runs. From a defensive efficiency perspective, you see they're pretty strong there. Very strong ZR rating, very strong defensive efficiency rating at 700 there. So I expect that we'll see some gloves as we get to the player selections on this team. But one that ran up the score pretty well, putting up 700 and nearly 780 runs, pretty strong total for the year, giving up 730. As we look at the home road splits, we see a 556 win percentage at home and a 494 on the road. So not too splitty there. No standout unit, didn't dominate at home, didn't really struggle bus on the road. So pretty straight up there. And then from a month-to-month perspective, I would guess if you asked API, he'd tell you it was a bit of a grind because he had a couple of months where he just couldn't get the train on the rails, April and September. So started the season struggling, ended the season struggling, but in the middle, he was picking up months and picking up 5 and 6 games on his games over 500 in those particular months. So what players did API use to get to this point? Well, the first thing I notice is that this is a very defensive build. This is a very defensive build here. We've got Pop and Ozzy up the middle versus Wright. We've got Pudge at catcher, and we've got Griffey in center. So from a reasonable player selection perspective, you can't really get more defensive than this outside of grabbing some of those cards that dropped last Thursday. So very defensive build and a very left-handed build. Look at this. We've got 7 left-handed bats in the VR lineup, and Ozzy's going to bat left-handed versus a right-handed pitcher as well. So very, very left-handed. As we switch over and toggle over to the versus left lineup, you see a bunch of righties pop in. So you see Ricky Henderson take a corner in the outfield. You see Hornsby take over at first base. Mays will take over for Griffey in center. Yount will come in for Pop at second. And then the rest will all stay the same. And so with all this left-handed presence, you might guess And you'd be right that he's running a lefty-oriented ballpark. He's running a ballpark where lefty average is maxed. Righty average is minned. And while he has uniform home runs, uniformly nerfed home runs at the minimum allowed, still going to play like a very left-handed park. And you see the editorial decision on API's part to go max on the extra base hits as well. So as we think about a player who's going to be able to take advantage of this type of stadium, it's a lot of these bats that you see here, your Wade Boggs, your Tony Nguyen, guys that can hit for a high average and can stretch a lot of those singles into doubles with some extra base power. So how did Manchego get here within the playoffs? Well, first let's look at the standings. And so Manchego, one of the last teams in fact, the last team in, was able to hold off Whale King and make the playoffs by 2 games. So last team in, 8th seed in the league. And therefore, when you're the 8th seed, you match up against the 1 seed. And let's see how that went. So he faced Jesse Roach's Richmond Rhinos and were able to out-cheese him 3-1. So the Richmond Rhinos run righty cheese, and Manchego runs their flavor of lefty cheese, and the lefty cheese took it 3-1. Next round, he faces Edmundston River Sharks, a truly extraordinary story who I imagine we'll have some time to dig into a little bit more later today. But he was able to, again, take on a right-handed oriented team with his lefty-oriented team and win that series in 5 games as well. And then last but not least, the Durham Los Toros were his last stopover before being able to make it to and punch his ticket to the 2057 Perfect League World Series. And he did so. So let's talk Manchego history. Manchego, as Bert is correcting me in the chat. We'll have to wait for API to confirm a pronunciation here. But as we talk API's history, Manchego's history, Forestville Ferns history, Forestville FOTF speculators history, we see a team that has now logged its 10th season within the Perfect League. And not just 10 seasons there, but 1 season culminating in a Perfect League champion. A Perfect League World Series win. And it happened to be his first season back in Perfect on his most recent run. Another thing that you'll see is that the year that he won before, he only had 83 wins in the regular season. And this season, only 85. So we've seen before a cheese team get hot in the playoffs after a so-so regular season, run the table, and pick up some hardware. We'll see if we see more of that today. Let's jump over to the Cartier Cutthroats and see what they're all about. So Cartier Cutthroats will look at run scoring, so 7th in the conference. Run prevention, 10th. So from a pure numbers perspective, slightly more run scoring than the cheese, but slightly worse run prevention. And then defensively, you see a problem here. Second to worst in the conference defensively, both in ZR and in defensive efficiency. So Cartier making the decision to go for more offense, give up some on the defense, and we'll see that as we check out his players. So first, let's look at the ballpark here. And we don't have an ultra cheesy build here. We don't have an extreme cheese, but we've got a tilted park. We've got a park that favors its righties and does so with 5 percentage points of buff to the average, and then nerfing the lefty home run a bit down there. And then our extra base hits are juiced just slightly at 1.1. So you'd expect to see some right-handed bats here, and you'd expect based on the defensive metrics that you'd see some offensive-oriented decisions, and you'd be right. So as we look at this, we see the VR lineup here is very righty-heavy. Starts with 3 lefties, but then 5 of the next 6 hitters are righties. You see Jackie at second. That probably contributes to some of the defensive deficiency. You see Campy out in the lineup versus Wright to take advantage of the park here. You see Yount as the everyday shortstop over someone like an Ozzy. There's only 2 platoons on this team. The 2 platoons are Tris Speaker and Ricky Henderson splitting up left field, and then Roger Connor and Cap Anson splitting up first base. Now we'll see what lineup selection looks like within this series. As you see, Roger Connor has no logged plate appearances for this team this season, so that's how the VR and VL lineups look right now. But it's anyone's guess as to how he's going to deploy this newly activated Roger Connor. So let's talk about the path. First let's talk pitching. So we've got a triumvirate here of excellent right-handed starting pitching, as well as a newcomer that we need to be aware of. So we're going to start with Cy Young, PTCS Cy Young, a card definitely worth its weight in gold. Only 3 of them in the game. One of the best starters you can get your hands on. Pedro and Walter follow him. And then we've got a newly acquired Schoolboy Rowe in here. So Schoolboy Rowe came onto the scene for the Cutthroats in July. So between these 4 arms, we've got 4 top-notch righties feeding into a bullpen that has a lot of might in its own respect here, with Maddox and Spawn and Carlton, Hoffman, Bieber, and Rivera. So let's look at the path, as we've got about 10 minutes until we get our first sim here. So the Cutthroats, they went to 5 games with the Austin Soul in round 1. And we see it was a 5-1 victory in Game 5. Is that a road game? Yep, that's a road game. So Cartier Cutthroats take the road Game 5 to push themselves into the second round of the playoffs. And then from there, they were able to take Glendale down 4-1. Get some rest for the next series, and boy, did they need it, as they went 7 with the Lyle Keg Guzzlers. Lyle, for anyone who doesn't know, is Naperville's neighbor. So I thought that we might have a neighborly World Series here, but it wasn't meant to be, as the Cartier Cutthroats take down the Keg Guzzlers in Game 7 and do so with a resounding 9-0 victory on the backs of a Walter Johnson performance for the ages, with Lyle's Pedro getting absolutely thrashed. So these are our 2 teams, guys. Who is going to win, and in how many games are they going to do it? Who's going to win, and in how many games are they going to do it? Crash is taking API in 4. Susmanja loves the cheese. In 5. Love the Cubs. As do I. Cheese in 6. Wallets has Cutthroat in 6. Vic's got API. Cutthroat. Cheese for the logo. CFed trying to set up an FOTF Hornsby sale. We'll see how effective that is. All right, 8 minutes until Game 1. And let's use what time we have to look at our matchups. So this series is going to start in Cartier Town, which means we're starting in a righty-favored park, and then we'll spend the 3 middle games of the series in the lefty-favored park, and then 6 and 7 will be right back at the righty-favored. So we know that Cartier had to go 7 games to get to this point. How rested is his pitching to be able to deploy optimally, given the change in venue here? So let's take a look at both teams' bullpens. So we go Cartier, not in horrible shape here. His hand is somewhat forced to go Schoolboy Rowe or throw in a Warren Spawn at this point. So I expect we'll see one of those two. Might not be a bad idea to hold Spawn for the middle games of the series as well. Go into a lefty park. But from a rest perspective, yes, he does not have the ability to deploy Cy Young or Pedro or Walter here in Game 1. But Schoolboy Road, not the worst consolation prize. Pedro will be rested by Game 3. So Pedro will be in play then, and Walter Johnson by Game 4. And as we look at API's Manchego Cheese, we see that he is rocking a fully gassed up staff. Everybody ready to go. Can deploy in any way he sees fit. Right now, if I'm API, I'm building a plan for Game 1 and 2. And in the back of my head, I'm saving the guys that I want in 3, 4, and 5. In a park that favors righties, you typically want a righty on the mound. In a park that favors lefties, you typically want a lefty on the mound. Can't always have it that way. But I would expect both of our managers to have that in mind, as we've got some starkly contrasting venues that each team will have to play in. And at the end of the day, all we can do is give our team the best matchups. That's the impact that we as managers can do. Get our hitters up in a situation where they can succeed, get our pitchers facing a lineup that they are well suited to face in a ballpark that they're well suited to face them. So from a expected starter perspective, we've got the Manchego Cheese advertising an Andy Pettitte start for Game 1 and Cartier advertising Schoolboy Rowe in Game 1. We shall see what we actually get. The things to look for here is how many right-handed bats is each team going to be throwing up regardless of pitcher. That's always the question. You know, when you go to a righty cheese park, you're likely to face a right-handed starting pitcher. How many same-side bats, and by same-side bat, I mean right-handed bat versus that right-hand pitcher, are you comfortable with to take advantage of the stadium? Whereas how many lefties do you want out there to take advantage of the natural platoon nature of the game? We've got 4 minutes to the sim, and I'll get you acclimated to the screen that we're looking at here. So in the top right-hand corner of your screen, you've got our 7-game series. And so as each game comes in, we will denote who has won it, so we can have people easily able to check in and check out and know where each series stands. At the bottom, we have this week's victims of the relegation Puma. So these are the incredible teams that have made it to perfect and battled as best they could, but they were caught by the relegation Puma and will be on their way back down to Diamond. And we can see that in a consolidated list on the screen right here. A lot of good teams here. A lot of good teams here. A lot of former champions. We have the Las Vegas Outlaws with a perfect league title. As we scroll on down here, I want to make sure I don't miss anyone, but I think I know who the other title holders are. We've got Jason Millay, 2-time perfect league champion. And I know Quanta's got one too, once I get down to him. We've got Free Dave Browns, Lisboa and Arenas. Won perfect league last week and put up a 75 and 87 campaign this week, and will be back on their way down to DLL. Here's Quanta Condor, perfect league champion. And then we've got the Miami Tamps here. They were in the Perfect League World Series last week and 68 and 94 this week. Perfect League is a grind. Perfect League is unforgiving. Longhorns not a perfect league champion yet. Gotta have the confidence. Eventually, one can be yours. So the reigning holder of most consecutive weeks within perfect was Jason Millay. He will now hand that title over. I can't recall who he mentioned it within the Discord is the new holder of it. But as you can see here, the very long stretch that Jason was able to string together here. It looks like about 10 seasons to me. And many of them on the very high end of the win-loss table there. 3 weeks with a win percentage over 600. Very notable string there, including 2 perfect league titles. 1 minute to the sim, and then we're going right into the play-by-play. Let's look in the chat. Let's see if we have a consensus here. Cheese in 6, API 6, Cutthroats in 5, Cutthroats in 7, Cutthroats in 6, Cutthroats in 7, Cheese all the way. Man, we are divided. As a chat, we are divided. So when you see teams that have an ethos divided between them, a righty team versus a lefty team, oftentimes it's going to come down to who can steal games on the road, who can put together a performance to steal a home field advantage, and then when they have it, can they go back to their home park and capitalize on it? As a lefty cheese team myself, if I'm in a playoff series and I can just split in that righty team's park and then come home, I feel really good about my chances to either polish that series off in my park or be in a position to only need one more coming back to the opposing park. All right, we're going to use movie magic here. Do the BRB screen. I'm trying out not having a border tonight. Let me know in the chat if you like this better or if you like the old way better. At the end of the day, it doesn't make any difference to me. M-Dub asking if anyone has ever won a PEL championship after being on reading between the lineups. That is a good question. That is a very good question. I think the answer is no. So Tim, 2331 asking, what does cheese refer to? So let's define that for a second. I don't know how it got the term cheese, but it did. And it refers to slanting your team and slanting your ballpark in a certain direction to favor a certain handedness. So we can look at, you know what? Let's go look at my favorite example of this. River Sharks, yeah. So we see the Edmundston River Sharks here. They are minning out their lefty average, maxing out righty average, minning out lefty homers, maxing out righty homers. So within this park, right-handed batters are superheroes and left-handed batters are duds. And this has earned the colloquial phrase or colloquial terming being a cheese park. Oh, sorry. So here's Edmundston, as I was just walking through. Maxing out righties, minning out lefties. So this would be called a righty cheese park. Now I know the Sims have been hanging. Let's see if we've got one in. Need to make sure I have hide scores on. Very good. So let's go back to BRB. And then try to load up this game. All right, do we have a sim? I don't yet. Still waiting on that first sim to come in on my end. I'll give it another go and see if I can't load it up. But we should be ready to go here in just a second. So who do we think we actually see from API in Game 1? I'm guessing that we did not see Andy Pettit as advertised. I'm going to guess we see a right-handed pitcher. Probably Pedro. Yeah, still can't get the sim in on my end. Sorry for the delay, guys. There's a little movie magic involved in getting this done, and sometimes it's a bit more complicated than you'd like. Something pseudo into Pedro. That sounds pretty API-y. That sounds like what I'd expect. All right, still nothing on my end, but I'm expecting that this will come back real soon. As my eyes are darting around the screen, as I'm trying to launch this ship. So 10:31 is the game date. But no sim in yet. Let me try a different way to load this. Yeah, I'm expecting we get to Pedro here in Game 1. I think he's going to want to tax him in Game 1 and then have him back at his disposal later in the series as early as possible. Still nothing on my end here, doing a little troubleshooting, so hang with me. This happened last week too, as we were trying to get Game 1 in there. Once we got Game 1 loaded, then we were rocking and rolling the rest of the series. If anyone can check your browser for the day number that we're in, if that's up to date, that would actually be helpful, whether it's 217 or 216 or whatever date that is. That's part of the launch codes, if you will, to get us into this game. Day 214 was the last sim. All right, let's see if that can help us. We'll try 214. If that doesn't work, we'll try 215, and then we'll be on our way. We are there. Hat tip to the guys in the chat, Suzmanja and Marksman, for getting me what I needed to get us going here. Now we can show the cam, and we can get underway here. So we see PTCS Cy Young on the hill. And I misspoke when I said he wasn't available for game one because we were still a sim behind. So he was a sim away from being ready, and now he's here. And he's going to face a lineup of 7 left-handed batters on the Manchego Cheese. So let's real quickly here get our first inaugural journey here of our matchup analyzer. As we look at Cy Young, we see his versus Wright stats. And you know what? These sample sizes here are too small to really mean anything. As you see, the versus Wright sample is 85 innings. The versus left is 113. So it's going to be hard to make too much out of these numbers here with only 200 innings total. Cy Young definitely one of the better pitchers here. And he'll lead off this game versus Wade Boggs. And away we go. Cartier Cutthroats trying to protect home field advantage. Young delivers to Boggs, and he rifles a single up the middle. This series starts off with a leadoff single for Wade Boggs. And we see that the trouble has worsened. Oh no, we go bottom one now. Pardon me. We've got David Price on the hill for Manchego. And David Price is starting this game versus 3 left-handed batters. He's failed to record an out against the first 2. Cobb and Nguyen lead off the game getting on base, and now we have Price versus Speaker in our first big high-leverage moment. We can see David Price versus left in our matchup analyzer in the bottom right-hand corner. Very dominant left-handed pitcher. 2-1 count to Speaker. The pitch. Speaker crushes that one into the corner. Around second, 1 run will score. Around third, here comes another, he'll hold. So David Price, 3 batters into the game, 3 base runners, and the Cheese find themselves on the ropes early. The first inning ends with another run denting the scoreboard, making it 2-0 Cartier, and we go to the top of the third. And here we are in the third. We have Ozzie Smith at the plate facing Cy Young with Yvonne Rodriguez on first. 1-2 pitch to Smith. Grounded to short. To second, 1 to first, double play. The Manchego Cheese ground into a twin killing. Still in the third, though. Boggs has now reached, and we've got fire. Ty Cobb batting at the plate. He's got a 0-ball, 0-strike count as Young delivers. That ball's laced into right field and a base hit, all going all the way to the wall. Boggs is around second, heading to third. He's at third, and he's going to stop there. A 2-out double by Ty Cobb. Unable to score Boggs, but puts 2 runners in scoring position as the Manchego Cheese are chasing a couple runs here. Next batter is Tony Nguyen. Let's load up and look at Tony Nguyen versus Wright. You see in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, Tony Nguyen is a 308, 364, 439 triple slash versus right-hand pitching. Needs a single here. 1-2 count the pitch. Nguyen grounder up the middle, fielded at second, across, and in time to end the inning as Cal Ripken makes the play. Threat over, and we go top 4. Another highlight for the Cheese, as they'll start with Tris Speaker to lead off the 4th. The pitch. He gets into one, deep to right. Will the ballpark hold it? It will not. Speaker plays long ball, cutting the lead in half. 2-1. We now go top 5, still 2-1. Wade Boggs to the plate. We'll go ahead and flash up Wade Boggs versus Wright in your bottom right-hand corner, the matchup analyzer. A 290 hitter, 372 on base, and he's got an opportunity here with Ozzie Smith aboard. The pitch. Lines it into left field, a base hit. Smith takes the second, he'll round and hold there. And 2 on and nobody out as the Cheese are in business here in the 5th. Next batter is Ty Cobb. Fire, Ty Cobb. As we see from the split here, Ty Cobb, one of the most, if not the most dangerous hitters versus right-hand pitching with a triple slash line of 298, 381, 490, and a wildly positive bat value. He's got a full count here on Cy Young. The pitch. That ball's belted into the right center field gap. That's going to go all the way to the wall. Around third and scoring is 1. Here comes Boggs. He's going to try to score, and he does on a sliding triple by Ty Cobb. That gives the Manchego Cheese the lead here in the 5th. We go to the 6th. The lead has grown from 3-2 to 4-2. As you see, the Cheese have peppered 12 hits in 5 2/3 innings, and they're looking for one more here as they look to pad their lead. We're back to fire Cobb as he faces Young here. You got to wonder what the hook on Cy Young is here, having allowed 4 runs, 12 hits, and still in the game here in this very high leverage moment here in the 6th. The pitch. Cobb loops it into right. Another base hit. Around third trying to score is Ozzie Smith, and he will make it 6-2 Cheese. We now go bottom 6. The Cartier Cutthroats have clawed a run back. They're now facing Pedro, and not just any Pedro. They are facing relief Pedro. As we look at Pedro as a reliever, you see a very high K per 9. That's the wrong Pedro. Let me get you the right Pedro. There's Pedro, the reliever. Very strong K per 9. Excellent walk avoidance. Very low whip. He'll try to get out of this jam here in the 6th. As we've got Jackie Robinson at the dish. Now, Jackie does not crush left-handed pitching, but the good thing about him is he does pretty well holding up against same-side pitchers like Pedro Martinez. Advantage here goes to the pitcher, but Jackie is just the type of guy who can come through in the clutch. 2-2 count on him. In the bottom of the 6th, the pitch. That ball's crushed down the left field line. That'll easily score a run, making it 6-4. Jackie on his way to second with a 2-out RBI double. Cutting into the lead of the Cheese even further. We now go bottom 8. Cheese trying to hold this one down, and they're going to turn to Trevor Hoffman to do it. As we check out Trevor Hoffman's statistics, one of the better relievers in the game, and he'll start versus Rogers Hornsby. As you can see in your bottom right-hand corner, Hornsby, one of the better hitters in the game as far as right-handed bats go versus right-hand pitching. His task right now is just to get on base. Full count on him. Hoffman winds and delivers. That ball is looped into center. Hornsby is aboard with a leadoff single. Next batters, Ken Griffey. Crowd on their feet here as they can feel a rally a-brewing late in game 1. You see the splits in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Griffey known for his power versus right-handed batters, right-handed pitchers. Hoffman comes set and delivers. Little looper to right. Playable. Put away by the Cheese's Tony Nguyen. 1 away here in the 8th. Next batter, Roy Campanella. Campanella was one of those decisions that we spotlighted early on in the game as a decision they made to favor their ballpark here. Let's see if it pays off. As you see, Campanella does struggle versus right-hand pitching. Full count on him. The pitch. Loop to center. Deep, but playable. Tagging is the runner. He'll hold it first. Griffey makes the catch. We've got 2 away now. And that's going to end the threat there in the 8th. We go top 9. We see the Cartier Cutthroat Shane Bieber come into this game in relief. And he'll face the Manchego Cheese's Roger Connor with 2 away. Full count, the pitch. Connor loops it into right, a base hit. Looked like Cal Ripken reached for it, but was unable to pull it in. Nothing doing top 9, so we go bottom 9. And it's time for Mariano to earn his role as closer of the Cheese. Mariano Rivera, one of the best cards within the game. As you can see in your bottom right-hand corner, an extremely low FIP, an excellently low whip, avoids walks, avoids homers, just what you want in a closer. And he'll start off this inning versus Cal Ripken. And we'll pull up Cal's stats for you as well. The 1-0 count here. Rivera winds and delivers. Cal grounds it to second. Easy play and across. 1 up, 1 down as Pop Lloyd was able to make the play. Next batter, Robin Yount. Similar bat in terms of success, or lack of success, I should say, versus right-hand pitching. As we'll show you on the screen now. A 219, 265, 383. Triple slash. The pitch. He lines that one down the line and right. That goes all the way to the wall. Yount's going to try for 2. Relay throw will not be in time. A 1-out double for Yount here in the bottom of the 9th, which will bring the tying run to the plate in the form of Ty Cobb, arguably the most dangerous bat in the game versus right-hand pitching. We'll toggle the split for Mariano Rivera to VL, and you see he's much less effective. Advantage to the hitter in this matchup here. Rivera winds and delivers. Cobb, a little dinker, fielded by the catcher. Throw to first, in time. A clutch play by Pudge Rodriguez, fielding a ground ball out in front of the plate with a very fast runner in Ty Cobb trying to leg that out for an infield single. Yount heads to third on the play. And this game now hinges on Tony Nguyen's bat. Tony Nguyen, an excellent hitter, facing a very tough customer in Mariano Rivera here, needing to get on base to keep the Cutthroats alive in game 1. 2-2 count on him. The pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 3. And your Manchego Cheese have taken game 1 on the road, and they have taken home field's advantage with them. Let's get into the box score and see what went down. So we see a very long hook on Cartier's Cy Young as he went 98 pitches through 5 2/3 innings, yielding 13 hits, 6 earned runs, while walking 1 and striking out 2. The bullpen came along, did a great job in relief, but by then the damage had already been done. On the Manchego side, we saw David Price get himself into a lot of trouble. He faced 3 batters, put them all on base. 2 of them come around to score, as Pedro came in right after the pseudo and was able to get control of the game despite yielding up a couple runs himself. And then from there, it went tic-tac-toe. The 3 best pen arms in the game, at least traditional relievers. You could argue Walter Johnson's in that conversation. But the 3 best traditional relievers go tic-tac-toe, 7th, 8th, 9th, with Hendricks actually getting it out in the 6th as well to hold this lead for Manchego Cheese as they steal home field advantage away from Cartier. So, I believe we are going to be ready to go right into the sim for game 2. So let me try to load that up now. So we were right that we did not get to see Andy Pettit in game 1 for Manchego. We saw a pseudo starter in David Price feeding to Pedro Martinez. All right, we do have our second sim in. Let's get right to it. So for the Cutthroats, we see Schoolboy Rowe on the hill. And he's going to be facing that same lineup for the Cheese. We'll see what the Cheese roll out from a starting pitcher perspective. You see the Cutthroats are alternating their lineup, going LR, LR, LR all the way down, with Yount as the capper to avoid vulnerability to pseudo starters. We'll start this game with Rowe versus Boggs. And he walked him. That's going to be a lead-off batter for the second game in a row for the Cheese. As I pull up Schoolboy Rowe's numbers, I've got 390 innings of Schoolboy Rowe as a starter. The results aren't great. You see some home run problems. You see some whip issues there. But definitely not a sample that I would argue to make any big decisions off of. Still in the first now, and the Cheese have a legitimate opportunity here. They've got Nguyen in scoring position and Speaker on first with Roger Connor at the plate. Roger Connor, one of the oldest and one of the best players within this game, has been meta from just about day one. And you see his triple slash in the bottom right corner of your screen, 284, 362, and 434. And he'll bat with the opportunity to put the Cheese on the board here in the first. 1-1 count. That ball gets away from the catcher. Coming from third is Tony Nguyen. He will score without a throw. And the Cheese are on the board. Not what you expect to see with Pudge Rodriguez behind the plate, as Rowe gets a wild pitch past him. We now fast forward. Cutthroats at the plate, facing a Walter Johnson for the Cheese. Tris Speaker at the plate. 1-0 count. Speaker lines that one to left, all the way to the wall. Coming around third and scoring will be Ripken, as Speaker ends up at second with an RBI game-tying double. We now go top five. Rowe still on the mound. Has successfully held the Cheese to just one earned run through 4 2/3. He's got to get through Tris Speaker here to cap off the fifth. You see Tris Speaker's triple slash line in the bottom right corner of your screen now. 1-0 count. The delivery, and he rifles that one into right. That's a base hit. That's a base hit. Stopping at second will be Tony Nguyen as this rally continues, and we get right back to Roger Connor. Roger Connor was at the plate last time in a clutch situation and was the beneficiary of a wild pitch doing his job for him. Here's the pitch. Little number to short. Fielded. Goes to the short play at second. In time. Side retired. No further damage. We go tied to the bottom of the fifth. And we're actually tied all the way to the bottom of the seventh. And this highlight now for the Cutthroats, as we've got Walter Johnson still on the hill for the Cheese. Walter Johnson, an excellent pitcher. There's a huge volatility between him as a starter and him as a reliever. I'll show you both. So here's Walter Johnson, the starter. Pretty much league average, which is a very notable accomplishment as a starter. Very difficult to be league average as a starter. But when you toggle him to reliever, you see that he goes into super Walter mode, super big train mode. And the FIP comes way down. King Butcher asking what a triple slash is. That's just the shorthand lexicon of average OBP slug. So Roger Connor's triple slash here on the screen would be 284, 362, 434. All right, bottom seven. It's Griffey time. Ken Griffey versus Wright. Not much to speak about with the average of the OBP, but certainly does and can get into some long balls. We'll see what he has in store here in the bottom of the seventh of this gridlocked game. We also have Ricky on first. Ricky Henderson, a pinch runner, could absolutely be off with any pitch here. The pitch. Griffey grounds it to short, to second, one, to first, double play. So Ricky Henderson does not attempt the steal, and because of it, they hit right into the shift, and it's a 5-6-3 double play as it goes third, short, first to end the inning here in the 7th. We are now in the top of the 8th. The Cheese are trying to steal this one and steal a 2-0 lead within the series. And they've got Carlton, Steve Carlton. It's a newer card, so let's see how he's been performing. So Carlton, the reliever, pretty good-looking statistics there. Carlton versus left, absolutely insanely dominant production there in the 600-inning pitch sample that we have. And he'll face Roger Connor. Roger Connor versus left, not nearly the same producer that he is versus right. 2-2 count on him. The pitch. Connor loops that one left center. It's a long run. Ranging over is the center fielder, unable to make the play. Throw into second will not be in time. That's an opposite field double for Roger Connor, as Ken Griffey Jr. was unable to track that ball down. Still in the 8th. Carlton still on the hill. He'll face Pop Lloyd now. Now, we've laughed in the past at just how dominant David Price would be versus a theoretical matchup versus Pop Lloyd. And now with Carlton being a new David Price-like lefty killer, we can add him to that same conversation. As you see here, Pop Lloyd struggles mightily versus left-hand pitching with a triple slash line of 200 average, 231 on base, 268 slug. And he's facing an absolute lefty masher, lefty killer in Steve Carlton. Let's see what happens. The pitch. He gets into one at first. Fielded by the first baseman. He's going to take it to the bag himself. Both runners move up. So Pop Lloyd, in a very difficult matchup for him, at least advances both runners, which brings up Pudge Rodriguez. And that gives us a chance to see that Carlton does struggle versus left-hand pitching. And then we'll pop Pudge Rodriguez in here as well. Not the greatest hitter by any stretch, but definitely does more damage versus left-hand pitching. And he's got a chance to untie this game here in the 8th. The pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Steve Carlton works around a jam in the 8th, keeping us tied. Still tied, we go bottom 8. And we see that the Cheese is Walter Johnson still on the hill. He'll start this inning off against Pudge. The pitch. Pudge lines it into left field. Tough matchup for Pudge. Able to lace a ringing single to left. Next batter is Tony Nguyen. 1-0 count on him. Grounder. Tough play by the pitcher. He fields it. Goes to second in time. Incredible play by the Cheese's Walter Johnson to get the lead runner there. Pudge not the fastest runner in the world, but that was a very slow developing play, and getting that lead runner late in a tie game is a huge one. We now have Cal Ripken to the plate. Cal Ripken can often and does hit into many double plays, and that's exactly what the Cheese are looking for here. 1-1 count on the pitch. Grounded to third, to second one, to first, double play. Cheese get out of the 8th with no damage on the heels of a couple of big defensive plays. Top 9 now. We've got a pinch hitter, and we've got a monster of a pinch hitter coming to the plate. It's Hank Aaron, face of the franchise. Take one look in the bottom right-hand corner and ask yourself if there's another bat that you'd rather have up there in this moment, where a long one would untie a game here in Game 2 late. 290 average, 523 on the slug, extremely high bat value. Hank Aaron's thinking one thing right now. He wants to take Carlton yard. 3-1 count on the pitch. Line down the left field line. Aaron will take a hard turn at first. He's going to try for second. The throw, not in time. A leadoff double for Hank Aaron to start the 9th for the Cheese. Next up is Rogers Hornsby. And that last rhetorical question I threw at you about who you'd rather have up in that moment than Hank Aaron, the answer is probably Rogers Hornsby because of what you see. in that bottom right-hand corner right now. An absolute masher versus left-hand pitching. And he's got a chance here with Hank Aaron in scoring position and nobody out. The pitch. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Big strikeout by Steve Carlton. Runner does not advance. Next up, Ty Cobb. We've talked about Ty Cobb and how incredible of a hitter he is versus right. Versus left, slightly negative bat value. Still a competent hitter, though, with that 734 OPS. He'll face Steve Carlton, one of the toughest customers around versus left. 0-1 count. The pitch. Up the middle. Grounded it short. Over to first in time. Advancing on the play is Hank Aaron, but Cobb unable to drive him in there. We see Henderson reach base, likely via a walk, and now this whole inning, this whole rally will come down to the bat of Willie Mays. And if you've got to rely on Willie, you're going to want it to be versus left-handed pitching. As you see Willie Mays face the franchise versus left in your bottom right-hand corner. A very productive bat. 1-0 count on him. Huge moment here in game 2. First, the pickoff throw. 1-0 count on Mays. Game on the line. Another pickoff throw. 2-2 count now on Mays. Carlton 1 strike away from pushing this to the 9th. Mays 1 swing away from untying it in favor of the Cheese. Another pickoff throw. That's a hat trick. Full count now on Mays. Another pickoff throw. Carlton deals. Grounded to short. Takes the throw across the diamond in time. Ending the inning and ending the threat for the Cheese. Bottom 9 now. We are into hero o'clock. One swing of the bat can win it for the Cutthroats. And they've got Tris Speaker batting versus Mariano Rivera. We'll load up the matchup analyzer for you, as this is a matchup of 2 of the best hitters in the game, or 2 of the best players in the game. We see Tris Speaker versus right and Mariano Rivera versus left. Slight advantage to the hitter here. 2-1 count. Robin Yount on first. The pitch. That's a bunt. Speaker gets it down. Fielded by the second baseman. Throw to first in time. But Speaker successfully moves the runner into scoring position. And Yount will be there with Jackie Robinson at the plate. Robinson, chance to be a hero. 722 OPS versus same side pitching. And he's got a 1-0 count against Rivera here in the 9th. First, a pickoff throw. 5th one of the inning. 2-2 count now on Jackie. The pitch. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Rivera with a huge strikeout here in the bottom of the 9th to get that second out. This inning will come down to Roger Connor, who will need any old single to win this game, as the runners will be in motion on the play. Any old single is going to score Yount, whereas Rivera and the Cheese need any old out to push this to extras. The pitch. He walked him. Connor walks and they're loaded. There's no room to put another one. So this game now comes down to Ken Griffey. Griffey Jr. versus Rivera. Everything on the line. 0-1 count. A hit and a win and out, and we have extras. The pitch. Line to right field. That ball is down, and the Cutthroats walk it off. Ken Griffey Jr. with an RBI single in the bottom of the 9th versus Mariano Rivera to even the series at 1 and push us to the cheese wheel as the Cutthroats look to pull back home field advantage in Game 3. The crowd goes wild. Fireworks erupt. What a game. What a pitcher's duel. And the Cutthroats pull it off. Let's get to the box score and see what happened. So we saw Cartier's Schoolboy Rowe with a solid outing. Goes 5 innings. Took him a lot to get through those 5 innings. He was spreading around 9 base runners in that process. Did rack up 7 strikeouts. And then handed it over to a bullpen that's yet to give up a run here in the series. Greg Maddux goes a clean 6th, and then Steve Carlton comes on for what was somewhat of a high-wire act the rest of the game, but kept the cheese off the scoreboard. And from Manchego's perspective, we see another pseudo. We see a Steve Carlton pseudo, this one more successful than the Price pseudo we saw in Game 1, going 2/3 of an inning and giving up 1 hit, and then handing over to Walter Johnson, who was just brilliant. Brilliant through the 8th inning. All the trouble came to be when Mariano came in the game and was unable to get out of trouble there in the 9th, letting up the game-winning hit to Ken Griffey Jr. What a game. And we are now tied up. I believe that the off-day sim was likely 10 minutes ago, meaning the new game sim would be in 5, but I could be off on that. Let's go ahead and load up the current day and make sure we're in a good spot. So we're 1-1 through 2 games as the Cheese will look to take advantage of their slanted ballpark to try to run here in games 3 through 5. So EBC asking if anyone studied the impact of staff ERAs of Yogi versus bench versus Pudge. I haven't specifically done them, but I have done a pretty large amount of research with regards to the catcher ability impact on the bronze meta. And I can tell you that the impact is absolutely real. And something to be taken into account for sure. So we go game 3, and from an advertised starting pitcher perspective, and I actually think this advertisement could very well be true. It could be a Spawn v. Spawn battle, and Spawn is probably the lefty cheeser's favorite pitcher for their park. We'll look at Spawn's starts or stats in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen here, as we see that Spawn is a right at league average FIP, slightly better than league average WHIP. Does a great job of limiting the walks. And for my money, is just about the best left-handed pitcher you can get your hands on in this game, aside from maybe the new Koufax that dropped. So we've got 3 minutes to chill here before we have our Spawn v. Spawn battle in game 3. Now, what's at stake here? Whoever wins this game is retaining home field advantage. Is taking home field advantage, I should say. If the Cheese don't win their 3 games at home, then they're going to have to win back in Cutthroat country. Something that their team is not tuned to do. And on the other foot, the Cutthroats, a right-handed bat, right-handed pitching dominant team, is going to need to come into Manchego and steal a game against a team that's been tailored and built for this ballpark. So a lot at stake here in game 3. A lot at stake here in game 3. While that is updating there, I'm going to update our ticker. So we're going to go from the teams caught by the relegation Puma to the teams that are on their way up. So these are the teams that the Puma is now sizing up for potential meals next week. Hat tip to Chuck, DLL champion, for getting me this information and allowing me to put it onto the broadcast. Thank you very much for your support there. But you can see the league number and the champion that's going to be on their way up. So kudos to you guys, to those champions, and good luck avoiding the relegation Puma next week. And Walnut's got a great point that I am overdue for an update in my top right for who's taking these games. We've got to get the Cheese. Cheese take game 1. Cheese take game 2. PGH Beaches, Utah Stingers, Portland Piranhas, some really good teams coming up. For whichever team that doesn't walk away with the World Series today, they've got a crop of people that are ready to take their spot next week. Oh, that's right. I'm glad you guys keep me honest. Game 2 was not a Cheese victory. That was a Cutthroat victory. It's like I'm doing the broadcast and I don't even know what's going on. This is exactly where Rich would drop the "can we get a professional in here" line. Looks like Cutthroats is a bit too big for our allotted space here. All right, we should be simming. We should be cranking along here for game 3 in Manchego, and this is a huge game. Spawn v Spawn can go any number of ways. One of the best pitchers in the game, absolutely tailored to pitch in that park. What I'm going to be looking at is how many lefties do we see in each lineup. Spawn is great versus lefties. Let's look at our matchup analyzer there and prove that. So we see Spawn with 6,000 innings pitched with an incredible FIP versus lefties, incredible home run avoidance, incredible walk rate, and then you see versus Wright, not quite the same pitcher. You see the homer rate jump above league average, the strikeouts come way down, the whip jump up a bit. So within this park, which is juicing the batting average and juicing extra base hits, how many lefties do you want to face your opponent's Spawn? That is the question. All right, I'm going to try to load it up. Fans definitely got their money's worth in game 2. Very tight game. Could have gone either way. Sim is in. We have got game 3. Let's load it up. First thing we see is we've got a little bit of a surprise here. Greg Maddux on the mound for the Cheese. Now, who wants to bet me a nickel that Maddux is not long for this game? I think that we could see Maddux right into Spawn rather quickly here, but we'll let the game play out. And then on the Cheese side, we see only 2 lefty bats. We see only Cobb and only Nguyen as they face what seemingly will be a Spawn lineup. But let's start the game first. Let's start the game with Maddux versus Tris Speaker. 2-0 count on Tris as I load up my Maddux graphic. The pitch. Tris cranks that one deep center, but fielded by the center fielder, Willie Mays. 1 up, 1 down. And to clarify here, Manchego's Maddox is the face of the franchise variant. We go bottom 1, and we've got the Cutthroat spawn in a bit of a jam. They've put on base the first 2 batters, both Henderson and Cobb, and they are sitting in scoring position as Hornsby comes to the dish. Now, we saw this earlier in the broadcast, and we'll see it again now, but Hornsby is absolutely a nightmare versus left-hand pitching, even in a ballpark such as this. Full count on him. The pitch. Little dinker. Fielded by the second baseman. Over to first. No, he's not even going to throw. Couldn't get the ball out of his glove. That's going to be an infield single for Hornsby. And the Cheese have a quick 1-0 lead here in Game 3. Make it 2-0 and bring up Willie Mays as the Cheese are looking to distance themselves here early in the game. The pitch. And Willie Mays gets into it. Uh-oh! Break out the sour cream and the guacamole. Don't forget the salsas, because it's Oppo Taco time. Make it 4-0 Cheese. 4-0 stinky cheese. Now 6-0 as we go bottom 4. And the Cheese are getting another highlight. As the Cheese are face of the franchise, Greg Maddux of the Cutthroats. The pitch to Henderson, and he cranks that one into the right center field gap. Henderson can fly. He'll have 2 easy. Will he try for 3? He takes the turn around second. It isn't even slowing down. Throw to third, not in time. A 2-out triple for Ricky Henderson. We go top 6 now, and the Cutthroats have their work cut out for them, chasing 6 runs, while we've got face of the franchise spawn of the Cheese wheeling and dealing a shutout. We'll start this inning with Willie Mays at the dish. Willie Mays versus left, a formidable foe. Spawn wheels and delivers, and he gets into one. That's deep left center. Will the park hold it? It won't. That's a fence scraper ding-dong for Willie Mays, putting the Cutthroats on the board, making this a 6-1 ball game. Bottom 6 now. Cheese trying to get that run back, and they'll do so with Pudge. 1-0 count on him with 2 away, and Pudge gets into one. To his pull side, that ball's out of here. Yvonne Rodriguez hits it high, hits it deep, and gives the Cheese their 6-run lead back. An unlikely home run in this ballpark, and an unlikely home run given that matchup. I mean, just look at face of the franchise Maddox versus right-handed batters, and then look at Yvonne Rodriguez versus Wright. And then think about the fact that the homers are nerfed in this park. It's a very unlikely fortunate break for the Cheese there to give them back their 6-run lead. Looks like they may not even need it, as they're now a strike away from putting the nail in this one. It'll be Bob Feller on the mound, and he'll be facing Roy Campanella. We haven't seen Feller yet in this series. Bob Feller versus Wright. And Roy Campanella versus Wright. Huge advantage to Feller. You see that Feller's strikeout per 9 is almost double league average versus Wright. The walks are his problem, but you can certainly get away with a lot when you're striking out 14.1 per 9. Full count. The pitch. Grounder to second. Fielded by Pop. Over to first in time. And the Cheese have taken Game 3 and given themselves a 2-1 lead in the series. With 2 home games yet to play in this series. And the Cutthroats will need to grab one of those to have an opportunity to head back to their home park. So let's look at what happened. We see that the Manchego Maddox went 4 batters and handed it off to Warren Spahn, who then went 27. And Spahn had himself an excellent outing, going 7 innings, giving up only 5 hits and only 1 run as he threw 7 innings of excellent ball, throwing 85 pitches. And then Feller came on to get the last out in the 8th and then pitched a perfect 9th to nail down the game. Now on the Cartier side, this was a tale of 2 spawns, and they happened to get the bad one here. Spawn unable to get out of the first inning. Unable to get to the 8th batter in the game as he got tattooed for 5 hits, 6 earned runs. Looks like there was a hits batter in there as well. And so Spawn gave it over to Hoffman, who was clean, who gave it over to face the franchise Maddox, who was just fine, who gave it over to Price, who was downright dominant, but the damage had already been done. And you might be asking yourself, like, why? Why does Manchego start with Maddox? Well, the effort is to try to get that versus lefty versus righty lineup out there, and that's what it looks like happened here. Is you've got Cobb, Nguyen, Connor, and Speaker all in the lineup. So 4 same-side lefties as Spawn can chew right through them. And then on the Manchego side, you saw they only rolled out 2 same-side hitters with Nguyen and Cobb in this game. So what is in store for Game 4? We've got advertised starters of Pedro versus Glavin. We'll see what we get. Glavin certainly suited for this ballpark as well. Should have 5 minutes to the sim here. As we dare to take a peek at these performers and sizing up potential MVPs, we see on the cheese side of the ledger here, Cobb, Connor, and Speaker, really Boggs and Smith even, all having themselves quite a series, all hitting over 400. Tris Speaker slugging 778. You see Cobb, team leader in RBI. And then from a pitching perspective, a couple different performances, really 3 performances of note. With Pedro with his excellent long relief, Spawn with his excellent long relief, and same for Walter Johnson in a losing effort. Over on the Cartier side of things, we've got Jackie as a standout offensively. Hasn't had the impact from an RBI perspective that you might hope. Only 1 homer, and that's by a Mays that's only been able to start 1 of the games. And then from a pitching perspective, Schoolboy Rowe really stands out as the one big performer. Face the franchise Maddox has been clean, but in losing efforts. Roscoe wants to see the Cartier lineup. Let's check it out. So Cartier VR has 5 lefties. VL has 4. So I think the point that you're getting at there is that we did not get the VR lineup in that game. We got the VL. And so if that was a pseudo, if that was a 4-batter pseudo by API, he didn't trigger the other side lineup, but maybe he knew he wasn't going to trigger it, and that really wasn't the point. In looking at this lineup, if you can start Maddox for 4 batters and then hand it off to a lefty, that's really not a bad outcome. I mean, because you go Speaker, Robinson, Mays, Hornsby versus Maddox, and then get Spawn in there to start off with Cobb, Nguyen, Connor. So that could have been a pseudo understanding that he wasn't going to trigger the opposite side lineup, and really that being intentional. So well executed regardless there, as Maddox to Spawn got API the performance that he was looking for in Game 3. So 2 minutes to the sim here. We'll go ahead and prepare our link. Yeah, EVC, when you have the traditional follower mechanic and you're using that within the game, you do not get a stuff boost. But your opener does. Chuck, thanks for the reminder on the winner board. Probably the thing that I'm worst at is remembering to update this. So we give the cheese game 3. And we prepare for game 4. So who's going to go in game 4? Looks almost certain to be a Pedro start for Cartier, as the only left-handed arm that he's got rested is Hal Newhouser, who's currently in a stopper role. And then for API, we're looking at Glavin, Pettit, and Price all rested with Carlton right behind them. Two of those three are going to pitch in this game and the next game. Maybe even all three. Looks like there are some more diamond champions for me to update within our ticker. So I'll do that now. Don't want to leave anyone out. Future Puma food. All right, and I'm going to try to load up the sim here, as it should be in. Don't have it quite yet. Pedro v. Glavin, our probable starters. Snaggle's getting salty in the chat for not being called out as a gold level wildcard loser. We'll try to load it up again. Let's see if it's ready now. Nope, still hanging on here. Yuka wants me to call out the teams that lost in silver. Might be too many of those. We're still hanging on, waiting for this sim to come in. Here's the Perfect League bracket. I believe the Munster Mustangs are the team now that takes the mantle for the longest stay in Perfect, as they will head to their 8th straight season next week. Willy Wonka's Yonkavaders. That's a good team name. Hawksview Valley Cats. I remember them well. I was lucky enough to beat them in one of these Perfect League World Series. And then come home with this little guy right here. It's the name of the game here. API is going to get a second, or the Cutthroats are going to get there first. Let's go try to load up the sim again. So B-Phil asking what I think is better between Face of the Franchise Maddox and 100 Maddox. I will show you the numbers behind it, and then I think we'll both agree on the answer. But we do have our sim back, so let's jump into that. Actually, this is a very quick explanation, and once we do it, if we don't do it now, I'll forget probably. All right, so here is Greg Maddox, Face of the Franchise, as a starter. If you look in the bottom right corner, you've got a FIP under league average, WHIP under league average as well. Doesn't strike out a ton of people, but does a great job avoiding walks and avoiding home runs. Now, pay close attention. I'm going to toggle here. You might not catch it. The results might not be so stark that you notice it at first glance, but we now go to the legend. Slightly worse FIP, slightly worse WHIP. Honestly, very similar K, walk, and homer numbers. Here's a toggle again for you. We go Face of the Franchise, and we go back to legend. So what you're paying for when you pay the premium to go from legend to Face of the Franchise is a very small bit of FIP and a very small bit of WHIP. Now, if you're a whale and you've got all the perfect points in the world, yeah, go ahead and add him. Pick him up. Keep the legend around too. And then use them both to pitch around bullpen weariness. You know, pitch Maddox one day and then send him down and bring up the next Maddox and pitch him the next. Both pitchers are really good. So it's basically twins. You've got twins and one is slightly more attractive than the other. Thanks, Snaggle. I will get those other champions within our ticker right now, because no one gets left behind. All Diamond champions need to be recognized. Let's see, you have the league name before the team name. Let's make sure I do this right. All right, I think we're good. I think we are good. So we've got game 4 here, and the stakes couldn't be any bigger. Manchego looking to go 3-1 and put this series on the cusp, and the Cutthroats looking to even it at 2-2 and steal back home field advantage. And we look at our lineups here, and the Cheese rolling out 7 lefties, whereas the Cutthroats are rolling out a very similar lineup to what we saw yesterday. 3 lefties at the top, 3 righties in the middle, and finishing out with a mix. Let's get this game started with Glavin versus Cobb. Cobb bunts, fielded by Pudge, over to first in time. Pudge, a cat-like reflex play out in front of the plate as he gets a bunting Cobb for the first out in the first inning. Bottom 1 now. Cheese trying to strike, and they'll look to do so versus Pedro. Pedro faced the franchise, and they'll be doing it with Tris Speaker. 2 outs. The pitch. And he cranks that one into the gap. Nguyen on his horse, around second on his way to third. He gets to third. Will he try to score? Here he comes. The throw goes to third, not in time. Tris Speaker with an RBI triple, putting the Cheese on the board here in the first. Cheese make it 2-0 as we head to the 5th. Glavin on the mound, working on a shutout we haven't seen Tommy Glavin yet, so it's time to pull up his stats. And he's facing Rogers Hornsby, who has given many a left-handed pitcher nightmares. As you see, this matchup here heavily favors the batter in favor of Rogers Hornsby. 2 strikes on him, 0 outs. Willie Mays on first. Glavin comes set and delivers. Grounder to second. One over to first in time. That's a twin killing for Hornsby. And Tommy Glavin can breathe a sigh of relief. Bottom 7 now. Cheese looking to add to their lead. And they'll try to do so with Roger Connor at the plate, facing a relief Walter Johnson. And as we talked about earlier tonight, once you put Walter Johnson in the pen, all of his peripherals, all of his numbers improve. The FIP all the way down at 306. Roger Connor looking to make this lead slightly bigger here for the Cheese. The pitch, and Connor loops it down the left field line. It banks off the carom off the left field wall, and he'll end up with a double there. Make it 3-0 Cheese. Top 8 now. Glavin still rocking the shutout. The shutout now will have to work through Cal Ripken. Cal Ripken, this is not a ballpark that's going to favor Ripken. This is going to be a tough one for him to be successful in, because it is so rough on right-handed batters average. And it's even sucking the power out as well. But let's get Tommy Glavin versus right-handed batters as we set up this matchup. So the raw numbers tell you advantage Cal here, but this park, I know firsthand just how brutal it is for him to succeed here. 1-0 count. The pitch. Ripken cranks it to center, but not deep. Oh, it's misplayed! It's misplayed in center by Griffey! And Ripken ends up at second. Connor ends up at third. Willie Mays was slow rolling to the ball in center, and it just got a gust of wind underneath it and jumped right over his head, taking what should have been out number 2 and making this a much more challenging inning now for Tom Glavin, as it will now have to go through Ty Cobb. Ty Cobb in this ballpark, definitely a force to be reckoned with. Cartier Cutthroats trying to work their way back into this game with 1 away. The pitch. Cobb crushes that one into the right center field gap. 2 runs will score. Cobb's going to end up at second base, and he's not stopping there. Oh, he will. Took a very aggressive turn around second. Thought better of it and headed back. Now 3-2, and the Cheese head coach, Cheese manager, has seen enough Glavin for one day, and he's going to bring in Liam Hendriks. This was the formula that got him through game 1. Going Hendriks to Hoffman to Mariano. He'll now try to squeeze that in and get these last 5 outs here against the Cutthroats. Hendriks will face Tony Nguyen. Tony Nguyen will face a right-handed pitcher here. Now, Liam Hendriks is an excellent reliever. His one vulnerability is he's kind of splitty. So can he rise to the moment here against Tony Nguyen, protecting a precious 1-run lead late in Game 4? 1-0 count on Nguyen. The pitch. Nguyen grounds it to short. Deep in the hole is Ozzie over to first in time. No runner advance. Next up, Tris Speaker. Advantage still to the batter here. The pitch. Speaker lines it up the middle, a base hit. Around third, here comes Cobb. He's going to try to score. The throw comes all the way through. Not in time. We have a brand new ball game in the 8th inning of Game 4. Bottom 8 now. Cheese looking to strike back, and they'll look to do it with Wade Boggs at the dish versus a relief Walter Johnson. Boggs has Ozzie Smith at first with 2 away. You see Boggs with the standout on base percentage in the bottom right corner of your screen. The pitch from Johnson, and Boggs loops it to third. Caught by Rogers Hornsby, and that will end the inning and the threat. We are going to the 9th, all tied up at 3. Top 9 now. This is fingernail biting time for both sides, and especially the Manchego faithful. They now turn to Mariano Rivera to grab this game for them and put it away. They're just looking for him to keep it tied. Mariano Rivera, one of the best in the game. As I've got the wrong Mo there. There's the right Mo. And he'll face Willie Mays. Advantage to the pitcher. Full count. Rivera winds and delivers. Mays lines it into left field. Wade Boggs unable to corral that. And the Cutthroats have the leadoff runner on. Situation's gotten even worse, as we now have seen the Cutthroats have pinch run and gotten Ricky Henderson into scoring position, and Hornsby has reached via what looks to be a walk. So now Roger Connor will bat against Mariano Rivera with the opportunity to untie this game here in the 9th. Advantage to the hitter here. 1-2 count. The pitch. Little dinker. Pudge heads over, makes the catch. Very strange little pop-up out in front of home plate on the first baseline, and Pudge able to get out there and make a play. Second time this series we've seen Pudge make an impressive defensive play. One of the advantages of playing a defensive-oriented catcher. So Connor makes a completely unproductive out, which will bring up Ken Griffey Jr. to try to untie this game. Ricky Henderson has taken third, likely via stolen base. And so now Griffey needs to find a way to smoke one through a drawn-in infield. Infield, even though drawn in, is playing the shift here. Griffey, not known for his contact, not known for his on-base percentage, is going to look to put bat to ball here, down 1-2 in the count. The pitch. Lines it to left field and deep. Way back. Griffey's going oppo. Giving the Cutthroats a 3-run lead in the 9th inning of Game 4. The Manchego faithful here stuffing the cheese wheel. None too pleased with this turn of events. You heard a couple of boo birds sneak through there, as the complexion of this game has turned on a dime. We now go bottom 9. Cutthroats 1 out away from tying this series. And they're looking to do it with Walter Johnson, who must be logging some serious innings within this game. Can't wait to see the box score. But Walter Johnson looking to finish it off with Connor at the plate and Tris Speaker on first. The pitch. That ball's crushed! Deep right field, this game's not over! Connor plays long ball and brings the Cheese back within 1 with 2 outs away in the 9th. Ken Griffey comes up now. So we've seen the Cartier Griffey have a major, profound impact on this game. Can the Cheese Griffey do the same thing? The pitch to Griffey. Fly ball to center. Right at him. As Ken Griffey Jr. I can't even tell who the center fielder is for the Cutthroats. Everyone says PR. Ricky Henderson? No, Griffey. There we go. Griffey Jr. makes the catch squeezes it, and the Cutthroats now even the series 2-2 in a wild one here in Game 4. You see the win expectancy chart there. The Cutthroats were really up against it until a late rally in the 8th tied it, and another rally in the 9th gave them the lead that they'd be able to barely hold on to. Chuck with the good reminder on the win board. Good man, thank you, sir. With that win, the Cutthroats steal back home field advantage and are guaranteed to be heading back home. Dish will be running late this evening. That is a fact. More packs for everybody. Let's get into the box score. So what did we see? We saw for the first time in this series, the Cheese roll out a traditional starter deployed in a traditional way. They went long with Glavin, and Glavin was cruising. He cruised through 7 innings, and then in that 8th inning, got into trouble and was unable to get out of it himself, turned it over to Hendricks. Hendricks was the one that gave up the game-tying blow. And then Rivera in the 9th was just an absolute disaster as he gives up the opposite field home run to Ken Griffey Jr., which proved to be the difference. As we look on the Cartier side, we have some funny business here with Pedro. So Pedro only went 11 batters. He went 11 batters and then was pulled. And he was pulled for Hal Newhouser, who was the one rested lefty that we looked at before the game. So Newhouser comes in, gives a couple strong innings, did give up a run, and then turned it over to Bieber. And then Johnson was lights out for the most part until that 9th inning when it got interesting after he yielded the Roger Connor home run with 2 outs in the 9th. So boy, do we have a series on our hands now. Tied 2-2 with high drama in Game 4. Let's see if we've got a Game 5 sim waiting for us. And let's not forget, as people are pointing out in the chat, that Willie Mays misplayed ball in center field, which opened up that entire 8th inning. What a turning point in that game. And we've got Game 5 ready. I mean, in reality, in a playoff series, every game is pivotal. Every game is crucial. But when you're tied 2-2, and your choices are being on the precipice of winning a perfect league title or facing elimination, this game is pivotal. This game is huge. The winner of this game, more often than not, will win the Perfect League World Series. The all-important Game 5, as Roscoe terms it within the chat. So what do we have in Game 5? Well, we know what it's starting with. We know it's starting with face of the franchise, Greg Maddux on the hill for the Manchego Cheese. So let's load that up. And we know that the Cutthroats are going to counter that with 6 apparently same-side hitters. So this could be a lineup which is anticipating a Manchego shift into a left-handed arm. In this ballpark, against a right-handed starting pitcher, logic would not tell you to go 6 same-side batters. So I think what you're seeing here is some cat and mouse game playing out here, where the Cutthroats are betting on Maddux not being long for this game and hoping that there's a lefty coming in. And we saw Manchego had plenty of lefties rested, whether it's Carlton or David Price. That's the wager that the Cutthroats are making right now, and we'll see if it pays off for them. First, we start this game with Jackie Robinson leading off for the Cutthroats. Maddox winds and delivers, and Jackie loops it into left center. It's playable. Caught by Tris Speaker. One up and one down. We now go bottom one, and it's cheese wheel time as PTCS Cy Young is on the hill facing Roger Connor. Now, Connor has been a force in this game. We've seen a lot of highlights for Roger Connor on both sides. And we've got another one coming here. Advantage goes to the hitter in this matchup. Full count, runners will be in motion. Boggs on second, Speaker on first. The pitch. Connor takes, and he walked him. Checks his swing. Does not get run up by the umpire. The appeal to third base says no swing, and they're now loaded for Ken Griffey Jr. Ken Griffey Jr. has found himself as a central player on both sides of town as well. And he'll now play a huge role here in the first inning. Has an opportunity to put the cheese on the board with multiple here in the first. 0-1 count, the pitch. Little looper. Behind third. Third baseman ranges over, and Hornsby makes the grab to end the inning. The cheese load him up, but can't bring him in, and strand three here in the first. We go bottom three. PTCS Cy Young right back in the middle of a mini crisis as he's facing Ty Cobb. Ty Cobb definitely has the ability to take a mini crisis and make it a major one, and he's worked a 3-1 count here with Boggs on first. The pitch. He crushes that one. Deep right field. It might be. It could be. It is. A long home run. 416 cheesy feet for Ty Cobb as he unties this game here in the third. Let's get some fireworks and cheering for that. The home crowd loves the homers. And they just got a big one there. Now Roger Connor comes up for another highlight. Connor versus Cy Young. Cy Young trying to not let this game get away from him. Nguyen on first, one away. The pitch. Connor loops that one into the gap in left. Around second, heading to third is Nguyen. He gets to third, and he's not stopping. He's going to try to score. Here comes the throw to the plate. Not in time. Nguyen scores from first on an RBI double by Roger Connor. Make it 3-0 cheese. We go top four as it's now 4-0 cheese. And my suspicion appears to have come true that Maddox was not long for this game. So Cartier's bet that he would end up facing a great many plate appearances versus a left-handed arm appears to have paid off at least slightly. And now what can he do with them? Well, this next at bat and the one following it will be the LVL matchup that he doesn't desire. But from there, there's going to be a string of 6 righties, depending on how long Pettit stays within this game. Now, Tris Speaker, one of the oldest, one of the best cards in this game, has had better statistical lines versus left in seasons past. With each meta shift, he's losing a little bit more and a little bit more ground versus left, but still someone who can be trotted out in a ballpark like this with confidence. And let's take a look at Andy Pettit. Andy Pettit versus left, so advantage to the pitcher here. 3-0 count. The pitch. He takes ball 4. Pettit has walked the bases loaded. And now we've got the cheese protecting a 4-run lead. And Tony Nguyen at the plate representing the tying run. In this ballpark, with the amount of contact that Nguyen makes and the amount of contact that Pettit allows, I'm going to give the advantage to the hitter on this one, as Nguyen will bat with the bases loaded. Now, the cheese has just about the best defense you can run out there, with Ozzie Smith and Pop Lloyd up the middle, Griffey in center, Pudge behind the plate. So if you're a Cheese fan, you're rooting for some kind of double play here, whereas the Cutthroats are looking for something extra bases to clear those bases. Comes set and loops it into left. That's a base hit from Nguyen. 1 run is scored. Here comes a second run. Safe! Ty Cobb able to beat the throw to the plate, cutting the Manchego lead in half. Make it 4-2. Next batter's Cap Anson. Cap Anson, a reward from the Team of the Decade series. He'll come in and face a left-handed Andy Pettit. Advantage definitely to the batter on this one. First and second with 1 away. Manchego still searching for that double play ball. The pitch. Anson crushes it to left, but right there is Tris Speaker to squeeze it and put it away. 2 outs here in the 4th. We now go bottom 4, and PTCS Cy Young has himself in a doozy of a jam, as he's facing, you guessed it, Roger Connor for what feels like his 100th highlight of this World Series. And Connor bats with the bases loaded and the opportunity to stretch this Cheese lead. He's down on the count 1-2. The pitch. He loops that one into the left center field gap. That's going to clear the bases. Connor on his way to second. 2-run score on the play. Holding at third is Tris Speaker, as Roger Connor has come through yet again. Cheese faithful love that one. Do note that we've got the fire emoji Connor within the box area here for the Cheese. We've seen fire players come up big time and time again on these past World Series broadcasts. We now have, we're now in the top of the 7th. Cartier looking to strike back. Still facing Andy Pettit, who apparently has been successfully mowing through some outs here. And we've got Willie Mays at the dish. Advantage to the hitter on this one. Robin Yount on second, 2 away. The pitch. That ball's hit to center and deep. That ball's going to get over his head. It's going to go off the top of the wall. It's going to be an RBI double as Mays slides into second, and they trim down the lead by 1. We go top 8 now, and on comes Steve Carlton. As we've seen tonight, Steve Carlton just about one of the toughest left-on-left arms within the game, and that's exactly what Wade Boggs will be asked to do. Advantage strongly to the pitcher here, even with the home ballpark being what it is. Boggs up in the count 1-0. The pitch. Liner up the middle. Boggs gets a base hit for the Cheese. We now go top 9. Hoffman on to protect the lead. We saw Mariano come in yesterday and blow it. That probably, from a stamina perspective, pushed him to not be able to pitch today, and Hoffman will get the save opportunity. He's got 1 away here in the 9th, and he faces Pudge. Pudge not known for his bat. If you're the Cutthroats, you'd sure love to see anyone up there but Pudge, because you need base runners, and Pudge happens to get on base at a 247 clip versus right-hand pitchers. 1-1 count, the pitch. Little dinker. Who's going to field it? Hoffman has it over to first. Not in time. Pudge legs out an infield hit as Hoffman was slow to get off the mound and field his position. Now 2 away, and we've got Jackie. Jackie at the dish needs to get on base to extend this game. Cutthroat still chasing 3 runs. The pitch. Liner to right and deep. Back. Oppo Taco time again. For the second game in a row, the team trailing by 3 with 2 away in the 9th hits a home run. 399 feet, bringing the Cutthroats back within one. Setting up a mano-a-mano battle here of Willie Mays versus Trevor Hoffman. Willie Mays versus Wright. Not the side you'd want him, but he does have that 419 slug poking up to tell you that he's one swing away from being able to force this game into extras. 0-1 count on him. Hoffman comes set. He delivers. Fly ball deep to left. Back is a left fielder. That ball is out of here. Willie Mays has tied this game with 2 outs in the 9th inning. Holy cow! I don't believe what I just saw. So Hoffman blows the save. Immediately upon doing so, gets yanked for Bob Feller. Feller comes in, has worked a 3-0 count on Hornsby, as Cartier has breathed life into this game, which otherwise seemed like it had none. 3-0 count. The pitch. Ball 4, and Feller walks the first batter that he faces in Hornsby, which brings up a nightmare matchup here for him, as Bob Feller, as we'll show you here in a second. Bob Feller versus left, not a pretty picture, and we've seen it enough times to know that Ty Cobb versus Wright is just about as dangerous as it comes. We also see that Hornsby has been lifted for Ricky Henderson. He will now pinch run at first base and represent the go-ahead run with Pudge behind the plate. And an 81 hold runner rating on Feller. I don't know that we'll see any action here, but do know that just about any old double is going to score Henderson from first. Game on the line here in Game 5, Feller versus Cobb. The pitch. There goes Henderson. Pudge will not even throw. Henderson steals second without a throw because Pudge Rodriguez juggles it, unable to do the transfer. And now Cobb bats with the go-ahead run on second in the form of speedy Ricky Henderson. Full count on Cobb. Feller comes set. He winds and delivers. He walks him. Cobb works a 6-pitch walk, which is going to transfer the onus now to Tris Speaker. Advantage still squarely with the hitter here, as Speaker a left-handed bat, and Feller has a real hard time finding the plate against lefties with that 6.9 walks per 9, greater than double perfect league average. 2-2 count on Speaker. If you're a Cheese fan, you're looking for a whiff. You're looking for a called strike 3 to get you out of this inning. 2-2 count. The pitch. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. We now go to the bottom of the 9th, tied at 6. High drama in the top of the 9th with back-to-back home runs, forcing this game to continue. Bottom 9 now, and we see Steve Carlton come on for the Cutthroats. We see that Steve Carlton is absolutely deadly versus left. Advantage to the pitcher on this one, even given the ballpark. Full count to Nguyen. Pitch. Swing and a miss. Strike 3. Carlton leads off the 9th with a strikeout. He'll now face Ricky Henderson. As good as Carlton is versus left, he's got those really stark splits, those really tough struggles versus left. And then Henderson, a much better bat versus left. Gets on base at a much higher clip, and just like we saw the Cutthroats, Henderson active on the base paths. That's exactly what the Cheese are looking for here. Get him on and get him over. 3-0 count, and he walked him. Henderson aboard. We know that Carlton has a 98 hold runner, and we know that Pudge is the best in the game at throwing out would-be base stealers. So I don't know that we'll see action here on the bases or not, as we have Hank Aaron digging into the plate. Hank Aaron, for being such a great right-handed bat versus left, if I were in-game managing here, I'd go ahead and play this one out normal. So Aaron at the plate, Henderson on first, one away, game on the line, series hanging in the balance, 2-2. We start with a pickoff throw and Henderson gets back. Hank Aaron will pinch hit here. 1-1 count on Aaron now. Another pickoff throw, Henderson back. Three-one count now on Hank. The pitch. He walked him. Carlton has walked Henderson. He's walked Aaron. And the Cheese now have the winning run. The series swinging run on second base in the form of one of the game's fastest runners, Ricky Henderson. And oh, by the way, at the plate, they've got a little guy named Rogers Hornsby, who happens to be arguably the best hitter in the game versus left-hand pitching. Cartier really playing with fire here. Can they get out of it? 1-0 count, the pitch. Henderson trying to steal third. The throw, not in time. The Cheese's winning run now 90 feet away at third base. Infield playing deep, playing for two. Looks like corners in as Ripken on the cut of the grass, but Yount and Jackie playing for two up the middle with Hornsby at the plate. A dangerous strategy. 1-2 count on Hornsby. The pitch. Strike three called. Carlton with a clutch strikeout on a breaking ball. Runners unable to advance there on that non-productive out. And that's going to put this game in the hands of Willie Mays. Carlton versus Mays with the game on the line. Another pinch hitter here for the Cheese, as we've now had four substitute players come in a row. Henderson, Aaron, Hornsby, and Mays. And Mays will now try to win this game and tilt the series 3-2 for the Cheese. Carlton will try to complete his high wire act and get out of this ninth. The pitch. That ball's looped to left. In comes the left fielder. He makes the grab. We head to extras as Tris Speaker squeezes that one off the bat of Willie Mays. Top 10 now. I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle this series. This series is probably the most intense one that we've ever had. Tony Nguyen to the dish to start this one here in the 10th for the Cutthroats. And Feller still on the hill. Feller, great at avoiding contact, but has a hard time finding the strike zone. 2-2 count on Nguyen. The pitch. Strike three called. Bob Feller with a clutch strikeout to keep the leadoff runner off base for the Cheese. Now we see the Manchego, Steve Carlton, come into the game, and we'll see him face Pudge Rodriguez. So Bob Feller out, Steve Carlton in. We'll load up our matchup analyzer here as I catch my breath. Pudge definitely a better hitter versus left, but definitely not known for it. 3-1 count on him. Yount on deck. Carlton winds and delivers. That's ball four. Puts Pudge Rodriguez on base and brings up Robin Yount. We have not seen Robin Yount on an important highlight yet. He gets his first one here in the 10th inning of Game 5 in a knotted up series with the opportunity to gap one and plate Rodriguez. 2-2 count on him. The pitch. Little looper to second. Over is Pop Lloyd. Over is someone. They don't tell you what position people are playing. I'm guessing that's Hornsby. Yeah, it's got to be Hornsby. So Hornsby slides over, makes the grab. And we head to the bottom of the 10th. here in the bottom of the 10th. Who wants to be the hero? Who wants to make one swing of the bat and turn the series on a dime? First up with the chance is Pudge Rodriguez. This inning will be Pudge, Ozzie, and Boggs. It sets up pretty well for the Cutthroats because you've got 2 light bats and then 3 lefties. So for at least the first 5 hitters of this, the Cutthroats have to like their chances. 1-1 count on Pudge. The pitch. Pudge grounds it to third. Fielded. Long throw in time. 1 up, 1 down as Ripken makes the play. We slide past Robin Yount and then go right to Boggs. So Carlton versus Boggs, full count on him. The pitch. He walked him just off the corner, and Boggs has worked a free pass. He represents the winning run at first and brings up Ty Cobb. Ty Cobb at the center of it all. No surprise there. Has an opportunity to gap one here and win the game. 0-1 count on him. Carlton comes set. He delivers. That ball's crushed in the deep left center field. Gone! Ty Cobb walks it off in Game 5 for the Cheese. A difficult LVL matchup as he takes Steve Carlton and his 205 FIP to the cleaners. 439 cheese-alicious feet give Manchego a 3-2 lead in the series. What a game. What a game. What a game. Holy cow. I can't believe that one. I cannot believe that one. Look at the wild swings we had. Look at the wild swings we had. What a clutch home run by Cobber. And we'll now head to a Game 6 with the Cheese 1 win away from their second perfect league title. Unbelievable. Why can't every game have a walk-off homer, huh? That was awesome. All right, let's look at the box. So as expected, Maddox was not long for the game. 4 batters, and he gives way to Pettit. Pettit goes 27. Does so in quality start fashion. In quality follower fashion, I guess you should say. And then Hendricks came in, did his part. And then Hoffman, just like Mariano the day before, really was a train wreck in that 9th inning. Feller came on, danced around a couple of walks, and then Carlton, of course, picks up the win. On the Cartier side of things, you had PTCS Cy Young with a rough outing. Unable to handle the heavily platooned lineup inside the juiced park. Gave way to Hoffman, did a good job. Price did a good job. And then Carlton did his best. Herculean effort. 3 2/3 innings. Was a pitch selection away from getting out of that inning and logging his 4th shutout inning in the game. But it wasn't meant to be, as Ty Cobb got into one to the opposite field and gave Manchego the 3-2 lead within the series. All right. What a game, what a game. So we've got a travel day sim. I'm guessing that how long that highlight took ate up the entire travel day, and we might already be in long sim territory. I might need to ask Manchego for that. So I'm loading up the off-day sim right now. right, we are back. And we see that prior to this Game 6, we've got advertised David Price versus Schoolboy Rowe. And I think we do have Game 6 in, so let's go ahead and load that up. So pardon me as we go back on BRB. What a series that we've had so far. Back and forth, late game lead changes, impactful home runs, horrible misplays. This series has had it all. Sim not in for me yet. Let me try to update this and see if we can't get it up. What a treat this series has been. We've had active management. We've had it all. All right, Sim is in for Game 6. I mean, the game has been meaty enough where we haven't had any off-day downtime. It's been one right next to the next. Unbelievable. All right, Game 6 time. We are starting with Schoolboy Rowe versus the cheesy lineup. Now remember, we are changing venues here. We are going from Manchego's Lefty Cheese Park, which favors left-handed batters, and we are moving to the Cutthroats' righty-favored park. So that's going to color your matchup analyzer to a certain degree. All right, let's get this game started with Rowe versus Boggs in what could be a deciding Game 6 here for the Cheese. If not, we will go 7. The pitch to Boggs, and he loops one to left. That ball's going to get down, just like the Cheese have done in both of their first 2 games here in Cutthroat Park. They start off with a lead-off runner. The runner doesn't score, and we fast forward to the 4th inning. And here we see the Cutthroats with an early reliever. We see David Price into this game, and he's facing Griffey with Speaker and Connor on base. As you look at the Cheese lineup, 7 lefties, that's the type of lineup you want to be getting David Price into. We don't know if the 2 runners on base belong to Price or not, but he's going to try to get through this spot here, and we'll show you the Price matchup. And so Griffey, this is a really tough matchup here for the Cheese. Griffey is atrociously bad versus left with the triple slash line looking like 192, 237, 359. And then you can see David Price's dominance versus left-handed batters up above with a FIP at 221, a whip under 1. Very strong strikeout rate. So Griffey is going to really try to bear down here as he finds himself down on the count 0-2, but a couple of ducks on the pond here in the 4th. The pitch. Strike 3 called, and Griffey takes strike 3 looking as the Cheese leave a couple on base. We go top 5, and it's Cheese time again, and it's my favorite matchup. It's my favorite matchup. It's Pop Lloyd versus David Price. Pop Lloyd atrociously bad versus left, probably the worst hitter in current meta versus left-hand pitching, and David Price, who has long been the best LVL pitcher, who's now having that title threatened by Steve Carlton. We'll see why in the world this game is showing us this highlight. 0-1 count, the pitch. Lloyd cranks it into the gap. He's got extra bases on his way to second. Will he dare try for 3? No, he'll hold up there. Happy to count his lucky stars as he leads off this 5th with a double. Pop Lloyd has worked his way around to 3rd as we now have Ozzie Smith come up. This is our first Ozzie Smith highlight of the day. The first at bat that Ozzie Smith has had of consequence. And he does so facing David Price, and with the infield drawn in, looking for a little bit of contact here if you're a Cheese fan, and hoping that that contact finds a hole within the infield. Ozzie Smith is no hitter versus left or versus right, but we'll see what happens here. The pitch. Smith cranks it to left, deep enough. Could it score the run? Caught. Throw to the plate. Not even gonna try to go all the way home. That's a sac fly as Pop Lloyd scores without a throw. And the combination of Lloyd doubling off Price and Smith bringing him home via sac fly puts the Cheese in the driver's seat here in Game 6. We now have the Cheese, and they've got Pedro on the hill, facing Cap Anson. Anson into the batter's box versus Wright. And Pedro versus Wright as well. Advantage to the pitcher here, even in this righty-favored park. 0-2 count. The pitch. Cap Anson gets into one. Center fielder doesn't even move. Did he do it? He did! Cap Anson deposits one in the left center field bleachers. 427 happy feet for the Cutthroat faithful here in Game 6. And they've got some fireworks and standing O going on here in Cartier Town. Fast forward time. Hope you guys didn't get windburn. But we are all the way into another late game, tight ball game. This one's taking the flavor of Hal Newhouser, SE on the mound. I don't even think I've got data on him. At least not much of it. Hal Newhouser versus Wright. Yeah, not a ton of data there. And we've got Ozzie Smith at the dish again. Ozzie came through with a sac fly for the Cheese. He's going to be asked to come through again. He's got Ivan Rodriguez on first, looking to untie this game here in Game 6. 1-2 count on him. Newhouser comes set and delivers. Liner up the middle, base hit! Pudge will get to second and stop there. An unlikely single for Ozzie extends this 7th inning and turns over the lineup to Wade Boggs. Wade Boggs is not the best hitter in the world versus left, but for a left-handed batter, does a really good job of not giving up too much ground. A near average bat value. And he faces Hal Newhouser here. We see Newhouser's very limited small sample size splits here as being extremely favorable. 0-1 count. The pitch. Lines it base head into right field. Around third. And holding is Ivan Rodriguez, not fleet of foot. And the bases will remain loaded for, you guessed it, Ty Cobb, hero from Game 5. Does he have another heroic moment within this World Series? If he's able to clear the bases here, World Series MVP might be a foregone conclusion. Newhouser to Cobb. Game, series, season on the line. 2-2 count the pitch. Swing and a miss, strike 3. Cobb strikes out with the bases loaded, ending the threat here in the 7th. And the Cutthroat faithful go bananas. Bottom 7 now. And Pedro still on the hill for the Cheese. He will work against Willie Mays. Advantage to the pitcher on this one. 2-2 count with 1 away. Line and the pitch. That ball's cranked to deep right center. Did he do it? He did! Willie Mays takes the lead with an opposite field home run. 405 happy feet for the Cutthroats. And they now take a lead deep in Game 6. Notice Notice the iconography next to Mays here in the box score. He's got the fire emoji, and we've seen that fire be so big time and time and time again. Still in the bottom of the 7th, and on comes Liam Hendricks to try to nail this one down where it is and keep the Cheese within range. He's got a good matchup here versus Robin Yount. Advantage strongly to the pitcher here. 3-11 FIP versus Wright. As you see, Yount has a real hard time with right-handed pitching. Hard time getting on base. Very low batting average. Very negative bat value. But we are in a righty juice park. We'll see what happens. 2-1 count. Hendricks pitches. And that one's lined into right field. Around second come Hansen. He's going to try to score. Safe! And the Cutthroats double their lead to 3-1. Next up into the box is Tris Speaker. After we see Robin Yount prove the very unlikely successor in that last matchup, in this one, you see Speaker is definitely favored to be in this matchup here. Full count. Runners will get a head start. The pitch. That ball's looped into left and a base hit. Around third, runner's going to try to score, and he will without a throw. Make it 4-1 Cutthroats as they're starting to create some daylight between them and the Cheese. We now go bottom 8. Cheese still down 3. On comes Bob Feller versus Rogers Hornsby. Advantage to the pitcher here, 1-2 count. That ball's looped into right center. And a little base hit there for Rogers Hornsby. A 1-out single. Next up, Willie Mays. Shift on for the infield to pitch. Liner up the middle, base hit. Pop Lloyd reached for it and couldn't get it. Went just out of the reach of his hands as Hornsby takes second. No further runs score. It is now put up or shut up time. Now, we have seen some insane heroics in late games, especially in the 9th inning with 2 outs. Will we see more tonight is the question. As we're going to be asking Ivan Rodriguez for the Cheese faithful here to take a bat versus Rivera. Very tough matchup for him. He's worked the count to a 2-1 advantage. Wine in the pitch. Fly to left. In comes the left fielder. Makes the grab. And ladies and gentlemen, this series is going 7. This series, this crazy series with incredible high leverage late game moments, incredible heroics on both sides of the field, is going 7. Cutthroat faithful, go wild. This also means that we're in long sim territory. So I believe that this sim should have come in a couple minutes ago. It won't. Could be up to 15, 20 minutes from here before we're able to show you the highlights of Game 7. But the beauty of a Game 7 is there's no leading indicator as to who's going to be a champion. So let me please ask for there to be no spoilers in the chat. There are ways to sleuth the results ahead of time, but for the benefit of those enjoying the drama here, please keep that to yourself if you end up doing it. And let's take a look at this box score from Game 6. We see that Cartier's Schoolboy Row was downright dominant. 11 batters, giving up only 1 hit, and then giving way to David Price. As we saw, the lineup had a lot of lefties in it, something that Price should feast on. He didn't feast. He went 2 2/3, giving up 4 hits. Only 1 run, though, so limiting the damage. And then from Price came Hal Newhouser, who a bit of a high wire act, 3 base runners spread across 3 innings, but did strike out 6, including a clutch strikeout of Ty Cobb. And then Rivera came on for the final out. On the Manchego side, we saw a David Price pseudo, a 3-batter David Price pseudo that led right into Pedro Martinez. Martinez goes 5 1/3, giving up 4 hits, 2 earned, striking out 6, but giving up those 2 home runs. Giving up 1 to Anson and 1 to Willie Mays. Liam Hendricks came on and gave up another couple runs. And then Carlton and Feller closed out the box for Manchego. So who is going to win Game 7, guys? Who is going to win Game 7? I think the real winner to this point has been all of us, getting to experience this series with all of the high drama that it's had. Wait till next year's got it in the chat. We all win when there's a Game 7. Roscoe astutely asking about bullpens. Let's check it out. Who is available? Who is in play? Who is not? So let's look at this. We've got Walter and Spawn fully rested for the Cheese. Either one could start. Either one could follow. After that, you've got Hoffman and Rivera nearly full, and then David Price usable. From there, if I'm API, I don't want any of them in the game. Actually, no. So Maddox, you see, he's currently listed as a starting pitcher, which means that he will be beholden to the starting pitcher fatigue. When you convert him to a reliever with 12 pitches being thrown 3 days ago, he will also be at 100% health. I know that API doesn't love Maddox and feels as though Maddox has let him down at times in the past. So I don't know that he would, but Maddox will be full rest if he were to be deployed within the pen. Pettit will not be. Pedro obviously won't be. So this game from a Cheese perspective is going to be Johnson and Spawn, the 2 closers, David Price and Maddox, and you really shouldn't see anyone else. On the Cartier side, we see face of the franchise Maddox locked and loaded there. Spawn also 100% rested here and rested enough where he could be the starter because it's been 5 days since he threw 20 pitches. So he has those same 2 options there. His Mariano nearly fully rested. His Walter nearly fully rested. Walter could not be a starter. He would not have full starter stam, but is near full reliever stam. Bieber fully ready. Hoffman right on the cusp. I think if these were my options here, I would probably force sit Hoffman just to keep that low stam out of the game or low fatigue level out of the game from potentially playing a role. Now Pedro, look at this. 41 pitches 4 days ago. He would be full status, full fatigue level as a reliever. So he is someone who could factor into this game as well. Cy Young will be out. Newhouser will definitely be out. Carlton. I think Carlton is probably out for this one. So as we take inventory, we've got, from a starter perspective, Maddox, Spawn. That's it. And then from a reliever perspective, Walter, Hoffman, Pedro, Bieber, and Rivera. Let's see who we've got in the chat here. Looks like Vulcan's going Cheese. B-Phil's going Cutthroat. Don't forget to update the World Series board, man. I should really yield control of that to someone else. I just can't be trusted with it. All right. So we know the bullpens. From an advertised starter perspective, we've got Cartier listing Maddox and Manchego listing Walter. Let's do a quick MVP check. So let's say Manchego wins. Roger Connor would be a real strong candidate for MVP. Ty Cobb, with the gravity of the moments of the home runs that he's hit, would be a real strong candidate. Tris Speaker's been pretty impactful. And then from a pitching perspective, Pedro's been good. Walter's been good. Spawn's been good. So maybe if one of them has a dominant outing. And then on the Cartier side, who's going to win it over there? We've got Willie Mays sitting on 3 homers. He's only driven in 4 with them. But in only 16 at-bats, he's got 8 hits. OPSing about 1.7. Other than him, you don't really see a ton of impactful bats. So if it's not Mays and Cartier wins, who are we giving it to? Schoolboy Rowe? I mean, he's got 8 1/3, giving up only 1 run. Like there's not a ton of candidates here aside from Mays. We are in for a doozy of a Game 7, though. And if this series has been any indication, I'm guessing this one will be late. I'm guessing it will be tight. I'm guessing it will be decided by some high leverage at bats, high leverage relief appearances. What a wild series. Every World Series, every opportunity to crown a new champion, every opportunity to culminate a week of perfect team is an honor, but this one might just take the cake as one of the most exciting series I've ever had a chance to broadcast. So I had my list of things that I wanted to kill time with as we have our sim breaks. Now we really haven't needed them because we've been going from game to game. The sims themselves have been taking an extremely long time. But now that we've got a minute here, I want to just call out something that I find pretty extraordinary. And I alluded to it earlier in the broadcast. But we've now had the Edmundston River Sharks go 2 consecutive years in perfect team, making the playoffs. So they're going to be back for a 3rd. And this is a team that's doing it without a lot of the cards that people insist that you need to be successful. This team has no Tony Nguyen. This team has no Ty Cobb. And what they do is they throw righties at you. And when they're done throwing righties at you, they're going to throw some more. They don't have a left-handed bat on the team. No one on the team. Their clubhouse has thrown away all lefty batting helmets. With the ear flap on the right side, they don't need them. And this has resulted in playoffs in back-to-back seasons, a division win this week for the River Sharks. Let's look at their pitching. On the pitching side, you have more variety. So it's not just righties over here. As we look at who's getting the starts, maybe let's focus on who's getting the innings instead of the starts. We see that Walter Johnson, Seaver, and Pedro leading the way in terms of innings pitched. We see that Hubble and Price used extremely extensively out of the pen. Looks like Price is listed with a stopper role here. He made 1 start during the season. We also see Spawn picking up some starts, some relief appearances. So there's a great many ways to skin the cat that is really the relegation Puma. And I mean, if you would have told me before the last couple of weeks, could this work? I probably would have told you no. You know, on the road, I would have thought that this team would really struggle to not get really beaten not go super underwater. And that hasn't been the case. This year, picking up 38 road wins to go with 49 home. They do most of their damage versus left-handed starting pitching, winning at a .622 clip. Breaking even versus righties. From a run scoring, run prevention perspective, this is where defense plays in some. So 704 defensive efficiency is pretty strong. Strong zone rating as well. You see run avoidance is second in the conference. And run scoring 12th out of 20. So basically middle of the road run scoring and high end run avoidance. And that has been the formula that has allowed the Life Aquatic back-to-back Perfect League playoff appearances. So kudos to you. And good luck next week. I love the boldness. I love not even having a left-handed bat on the bench. And we talked about this earlier, but in case you weren't on for this part of the broadcast, they're rocking a righty cheese stadium. So, there's definitely logic behind the deployment that every right-handed at-bat in their home park is going to be juiced. Vlad News Bears asking to take a peek. See, let's do it. We've got the Vlad News Bears in here, and certainly looks like they're a playoff team as I'm clicking all over the place. Where are you, Vlad? There we go. So winning the division with the 92-win season. And let's take a look at how it was done. So from a run scored perspective, 19th out of 20 in the league. Now run avoidance, first. So what in the world? Are we using a fully nerfed ballpark here? That's what it is with the exception of triples, but triples happen so rarely that that 1.5 there doesn't have that wild of an impact. So fully nerfed ballpark. Are we also talking some high-level D? Let's see. Let's see what we've got here. So we've got Ozzy up the middle with Pop Lloyd. Third base is Jackie, which is going to be slightly better than a Hornsby or a Boggs. And then as we go in the outfield, Willie Mays instead of Griffey. And then Nguyen and right, Speaker and left. So pretty defensive build, although King Kelly about the least defensive catcher that one can throw out there. So I find that pretty interesting. Who's his platoon mate? Pudge. Okay, so Pudge will come in late games. And we also see that Willie Wells is going to come in late games as well. He's going to come in for Pop Lloyd. Pop Lloyd will shift over to third. So definitely prioritizing defense early in games and then really prioritizing it late, with maybe the one exception of center field. And then as we look at pitching, we've got 5 righties. So an all righty rotation and then nearly an all lefty pen. Isn't it fun to see all the different ways that you can win in this game? We saw Freeday Brown go shipping last week to a title. We see the Edmonston River Sharks throwing righties at you until you cry for submission. We've got Vlad News Bears here chalking the bullpen full of 6 lefties to go with their 5 righty starters, and then nerfing the heck out of their ballpark to try to grind you into submission with 1-0 and 2-1 ball games. And that's what you'll get with a lot of those home games. Really low scoring affairs. But congrats to you, Vlad News. Congrats for signing up for another week of Perfect. Jesse Roach in the chat. Jesse was API's first victim of the day, I believe. The Richmond Rhinos, operated by Jesse Roach, fell in 4. Jesse Roach, a righty cheese team going up against a lefty cheese team. In series like that, not too dissimilar to the World Series we're watching unfold now. Those home games take on supreme importance, especially in a short series, But congrats to Jesse for signing up for another week of perfect, avoiding that relegation Puma yet again. As you see the Puma at the bottom of your screen, excited to feast on some of these new blood. All right, I'm going to give loading up the sim a try. We'll see if we are in range. I am absolutely giddy about the opportunity to call this Game 7. And apologies to Dish for us running over with a 7-game series plus a long sim. Poor Dish just twiddling his thumbs over there. He's got perfect team prep to do. I think it's in, guys. I think it's in. I think this is Game 7. I want to make sure before we get too invested. But Maddox, face of the franchise, pitching for Cartier. Okay, I think this is it. Let's do it. Let us do it. Oh my God, Game 7, 2057 Perfect League World Series. We've got Cartier's face of the franchise, Greg Maddux, starting this one off. He'll start it off against Wade Boggs, and he's got a lineup of 6 lefties to deal with today. Let's go. Two count on Boggs, the pitch. And Boggs grounds it to third. Over to first in time. This is the first game played here in Cartier Stadium that the Cheese have not started off with a leadoff runner. And next on stats that have absolutely no bearing on the outcome. All right, we go bottom 3. And we've got an opportunity here. You know, the funny thing about a Game 7 is everything is a rally. Every highlight matters. We've got just a simple runner on first with 1 away, and the pressure feels like it's palpable. So let's go ahead and load up our matchup analyzer here with Walter Johnson, face of the franchise, versus left. And Tony Nguyen, face of the franchise, versus right. As Cartier will look to untie this game here in the bottom of the third. Speaker on first, the pitch. That ball is hit well to right. Goes back, and it's gone! Nguyen! Tony Nguyen, 393 feet, putting the Cutthroats on the board here in Game 7. A little fence scraper job by Nguyen puts Cartier up in the winner-take-all Game 7, and that's going to get some fireworks for the Cutthroat faithful. Still in the bottom of the third, Walter Johnson now has to face Willie Mays. As we shut off the fireworks and get back to baseball, Ty Cobb on first. Great base runner. Infield shift on. The pitch. That ball hit well to right center. Up, and away! Fire Willie Mays! Goes Appo Taco here in the bottom of the third, making it 4-0 Cutthroats. People love telling me the fire doesn't matter. And I know they may even be right. But when we watch these broadcasts, the Fire players come through time and time again. 4-0 Cutthroats as Walter Johnson is struggling here early in Game 7. That one travels 423 happy feet. 10th home run of the postseason for Mays. 4th of this World Series. Let's remember that we thought he was the most likely to be World Series MVP if the Cutthroats were to come out on top. Walter Johnson has found himself in more trouble here in the 4th. And this trouble takes the form of Tony Nguyen with a couple runners on base. Advantage to the hitter here. 2-1 count. Pudge on second. That's a slower runner. Here's the pitch. That ball hit well to left. No way! Another home run! And the Cutthroats lead by 7. Seven nothing lead now, and the Cutthroats are back and looking for more. Trevor Hoffman into the game for the Cheese, trying to stop the bleeding. In a game like this, you just keep going until you can't go no more. And outs are what the Cheese need more than anything, and an opportunity to get on the highlight machine themselves. Tris Speaker will bat. Here with 2 on and 1 away, the pitch. Speaker crushes that one. Over and beyond the center fielder. 1 run will score. Speaker sliding into second with a double. Here comes a second run, and he will score. Make it 9-0 Cutthroats, who are running away with Game 7 of the 2057 Perfect League World Series. We go top 9, and I fear it's all over but the shouting, as Pedro faces the franchise on in relief for the Cartier Cutthroats. And he'll be facing Roger Connor, who has been absolutely productive all series long. Connor bats with 2 away, the pitch. Line to first, caught, and the Cartier Cutthroats have won the World Series. What a wild one. Back and forth. Cartier comes out on top. Incredible performance. Game 7 did not live up to the rest of the series in terms of our expectations. What was a series whose hallmark was close games, and this one was a laugher, with Cartier just hitting home run after home run after home run early on. Let's look at the deployment strategy here and see what went down. We see Cartier went with an 11 batter face Greg Maddux, feeding to a Pedro Martinez, a stuff boosted Pedro Martinez, and that was worthy of a shutout for him. Now on Manchego's side, you see Spawn go 3, giving to Walter Johnson, and Walter Johnson just did not have it. Johnson throws 61 pitches, only retires 8 batters, but gives up 8 hits and a walk, 7 earned, and the most killing blow, 3 of those hits were home runs. After Maddux was in, Hoffman came in, gave up a couple more runs, and then from there, the rest didn't matter. Hendricks, Pettit, Price, Carlton. The damage had already been done. And the Cutthroats are your 2057 Perfect League champions. What a series, what a series. One final look at the playoff tree for you. And we got to check MVP. It's got to be Mays, right? Willie Mays, your series MVP. Unbelievable game. Unbelievable series. And the Cutthroats come out on top. Fire Willie Mays brought the fire. What did he end up at? He ended up 9 for 20 with 4 homers in the series. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And the only logical choice for MVP. If you look to one game that swung it, one game that the Cheese would want back, it was this one. It was Game 4. And it was the bullpen collapse in the 8th and 9th inning. Mariano Rivera giving up the 3-run homer to Ken Griffey. Well, everyone, that is going to do it for your 2057 World Series broadcast. Congratulations to the Cartier Cutthroats, for the Manchego Cheese for making it there. Congratulations to all of our Diamond champions who are entering this gauntlet next week. I wish you all good luck and hope that I'm broadcasting one of your opportunities to win this Perfect League World Series next week. Be sure to stick around, as Dish is going to go on very shortly after I'm done for another great week of Perfect Team Weekly Prep. And we will see you next Sunday.